G'day there, folks. Welcome along to this Gallagher Meets FarmIQ webinar. We're very excited to share the news that we've further integration at the cloud level. So we're going to go into detail today about that, what it looks like, the benefits of it, and just about using your data in general. So today, I've also got some helpers here. I've got Mark from Gallagher and Carey, who are going to introduce themselves shortly. But just in the meantime, to allow yourself a bit of time to get your cuppa or sort your lunch out and get in front of the computer, I thought you could open up the chat there. So on the right-hand side, there's a chat box. Why don't you just go ahead and there, say who you are, where you're farming, or if you're not farming, what you do for a crust. And also with everybody I've talked to this morning, especially in the South Island, the chat has been rain, which has been well welcomed. So I got around about 12 mils on the whole. Carey got 15 in some parts of the farm and 60 in the others. So go ahead and put it in how many mils of rain you had, and we'll compare and see who's jealous by the end of the webinar. Alrighty, so cracking on here. By the way, folks, there'll also be a poll open there. So have a look at that poll and tick your answers there. It should be popping up in front of your screen shortly. How would you describe your approach to animal weighing? Go ahead and we'll compare results then. That'll actually be quite interesting. Okay, so a little bit of agenda for today. We're going to go through some introductions. I'm going to talk through how the integration simplifies farm management and how farm data boosts performance. And then Mark's going to take over. He's going to say what weighing data should you capture, and then also turning data into decisions. We've got a wee demo, and there's going to be a Q&A, and Carey's going to be talking about his farm that he works on, how he got into farming, and also how they use FarmIQ and Gallagher, and where he sees the benefit of this integration going forward. So we'll crack into it. So first up, who are we? So I'm Russell Mackay. I'm from Gore. I'm from a nearly 150-year-old sheep and beef farm in Southland. I'm still as active as I can be there, but full-time gig is head of sales and marketing for FarmIQ. I've got a bit of a past in rural banking and all other forms of farming. And I am passionate about FarmIQ because I think, and we'll get into this later, that if something moves on farm, you should record it because that's information you can use to make better on-farm decisions. And I just love the idea of pulling all the data into one place and using that to your benefit. And so it's a good fit for me. And then we've also got here Mark. Mark, do you want to say good day to the folks?
Yeah, morning everybody. So I'm Mark Maitland, Business Development Manager at Gallagher. So my role is to focus on our animal performance and traceability portfolio. So I work closely with industry groups, large-scale farming groups to understand their strategies and what the industry's looking like in the future, and sort of bring that ideation back in-house and try and structure our solutions to meet some of that demand. So good to have you all on board.
Awesome. Thank you, Mark. And next up, we've got Carey. Carey, say good day, mate.
How you going, everyone? So I'm Carey. I'll start right at the start. So I grew up in Christchurch. I wasn't off a farm. I was a townie essentially, and then got sort of an interest in farming, working on uncle's farms and stuff. And then got into the 2-year cadetship at Coleridge Downs, which is up the Mackay Gorge. And then I was very fortunate to be offered a job after that. So I stayed at Coleridge for almost 6 years, and then moved down here to Caberfeidh. I'm the stock manager down here, and Caberfeigh's located in Korea on the South Island. So we'll talk about that.
Thank you, Carey. Okay, so we'll get into the nuts and bolts of it. How does the integration simplify farm management? So to back up a little bit, FarmIQ is always integrated with Gallagher and our competitors as well, Gallagher's competitors. But it was a bit of a flimsy integration by today's standards. It was either via Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection, which was prone to user error or just technical difficulties. And the other method was to take the whole head unit back to the office, plug in the cords and get your sessions out of there. But we've moved on from that. Everything's moved to the cloud. Now, I don't fully understand the cloud. It's up there. The data goes in there, and then we can grab that data seamlessly. So it means that you get all that data sharing without the hassle of these flimsy connections or wires and staff not fulfilling their duties as well. So now we can get animal weights, condition scores, scannings, and animal health treatments instantly syncing from your Gallagher device to FarmIQ via the cloud, which is just fantastic. It's a lot more user-friendly and a lot less prone to error as well. So we can get smarter farm insights from that as well. So we can now analyze weight gain trends and access animal histories. And because of this integration, you can do it your own way. You can use the information in Gallagher, or you can use it in FarmIQ. It's whatever way you want to use your systems. And now we're also dipping our toes into the AI space. So with this integration, if you log an animal health treatment in Gallagher, that will come through to FarmIQ, and we've used AI technology to go through your inventory and deduct that amount of product from your inventory. And there's a few other things in there for AI, but that's the major one. So this is a pretty exciting first for us. We can see AI being used to minimize the amount of clicks that farmers need to put in to get good insights coming out, and just to tick off your compliance. So we're pretty excited about this AI space, and so watch closely about where this goes. So how farm data boosts performance. These are my perspectives, the FarmIQ side, and then Mark will dive into the more details of the weighing side of things from Gallagher. So I believe if it moves, you should try record it. Now, this is different for every farm, and every farm is at a different level. So you should always just worry about the lowest hanging fruit. You can get overwhelmed trying to record as much as you can, but if you just worry about the next big thing that you need to do, have a crack at it, and get the value out of recording that, and make better farm decisions. So it will never ever replace your gut feeling as a farmer. At FarmIQ, we've always said that FarmIQ doesn't replace a good stock manager. You need to have the good knowledge up here, and you also need to have that gut feeling. But if you've got good data and you can look back, you can, with the right information, you can make that right decision sooner, and you can beat the market as well. And Carey will talk about that later. So if you have good data, you can look back at what did and didn't work, and then you can look forward and go, okay, well, what are we going to do different? This is what happened last time. What should we have a crack at next time? And I've got there as well, everyone's on the same page. So this is why integrations are so important for us, and being a data hub that FarmIQ is. It means that all staff have access to that information at your discretion, and also your team of rural professionals. So you can have your vets and your agronomist have access to the information, and you can collaborate with them to come up with the right decision for your farm and your farm system. And lastly, this one isn't so much of a dollar saver, but saving time and easing the compliance burden. Every time there's an integration, every time someone uses data, it saves time and just makes getting that tick from any sort of compliance easier, which every farmer is in favour of. Okay, so Mark, weighing animals. What data should people be capturing? I'll let you take over from here.
Thanks, Russell. My first observation, I suppose, is that the data captured is like generally a true reflection of what that farm system is, and what those farms' objectives and strategies are, and that effectively drives and the level of engagement in this space is what we generally see. So within New Zealand, I suppose there's multiple aspects to that, from a commercial finisher, breeder, stud, rearer operations. So they present multiple opportunities to dive into animal performance around an individual and a mob level evaluation. But the main aim of that, I suppose, is to drive drive efficiencies inside the farm gate for your livestock and farming business, and weighing and data capture is a critical tool to enable that. So some key messaging and things that we focus on really is obviously the RFID is the enabler, and as the world and the landscape in farming is changing, it's very much a passport approach now for that animal, and it gives us an opportunity to add on some key data aspects to that individual animal. So aspects of that are such as live weight, how frequently we are weighing those animals in terms of intervals, to really focus on average daily gain trends and overall trends of that animal from a weight perspective. A lot of people are predominantly probably doing that, but the value is in the additional detail, and really focusing on some aspects around breed, sex, origin, pedigree approach, sort of from a life data perspective, but then diving into things around general trade aspects like body condition scores, treatments, as Russell mentioned earlier, and we're starting to get into these aspects around carcass weights and grades, are starting to be a key driver to sort of really try and lift stock performance and outcomes, and things like temperament are just some examples of what we're seeing farmers in the industry really have a key focus around. Additionally, reproduction is pretty critical in any farm system. So preg results, breeding cycles and the like are additional data that's being captured and evaluated. And then obviously from a market perspective, there's target weights for sales. We're seeing a lot of processors now drive premium programs, which demand a lot of, I suppose, additional data. And that can be scary at times for some farmers. So we're trying to enable easy ways of doing that and what that looks like, to help it flow through, to meet those regulatory requirements. And the outcome, I suppose, of really diving into some of those deeper data areas is overall evaluation and optimizing that animal performance and stronger evaluation. So yeah, we're really excited about the integration. It's very much part of our strategy as a business in the industry to be collaborative. So as Russell mentioned earlier, the starting point at the moment is live weights, condition scores, and scanning results automatically flowing through to FarmIQ, which is great. And a very some smart piece of work from the FarmIQ side around the AI intelligence piece, which is really quite a game changer. So the future, obviously, we really want to get some customer insight and validation around this, and what that next steps are. Sort of there's more data that can flow. It's just a matter of what's of value to the farmer and that business. It's not our data, it's the farmer's data, and if we can land it in a place that is effectively enhancing your evaluation, then that's got to be a win, and obviously both businesses have those tools to do so. So yeah, hopefully there's some detail in there that you might pull out around how I could focus a little bit deeper around my animal performance. And one key message Russell mentioned earlier, but I'll pick up on it, is I suppose is focus in small areas first, around a few, sort of go deeper into trait records. Don't try and eat the whole apple first. I would just focus on key things that will change your animal performance.
Yeah, Mark, you touched on something else there which is very crucial where FarmIQ and Gallagher align. Sorry, I keep mispronouncing that despite myself on that. It's the farmer's data, and that's something that we're big fans of at FarmIQ and Gallagher. We've always had the perspective that it's the farmer's data, and you should be able to do whatever the hell you want with it. So this integration, it's putting that into practice. You can use the data in Gallagher, you can use it in FarmIQ, and you can do whatever you wish with it. Alrighty, thank you, Mark. Alrighty, guys, now it's time to give a wee demo of how the actual integration works here. So for those of you who've never seen FarmIQ, this is what it looks like. Many on the call would have already seen it or are currently using it. So bless me for telling Mother how to suck eggs real quickly here, but it's based from a digital map. It takes care of all your stock, land, people, health and safety, and any office admin stuff as well. So to move stuff around, you just click on a paddock with mobs in it, go move mob, where they're going, when it happened, and it's taken care of just like that. And once you learn how to do one thing in FarmIQ, you've kind of learned how to do 5 things. You learn how to complete a drench. You've also learned how to complete a vaccination. Or if you learn how to do a fertilizer application, a chemical application is the exact same thing. But for the purpose of today, I'm going to show you how to set up the Gallagher integration. So to do that, and I'll go nice and slowly, this is just a test environment. This isn't a real farm with real data. So you go Office, and then we're coming down to the admin and we're going into settings. And now we're coming down into external company access down here on the left-hand side. Now you're going to click edit. We have all the other partners that we have data sharing agreements with. And now you're going to come on down and you're going to see Gallagher here. So just go and turn that on there. It'll ask, then it will redirect you to the Gallagher login. Remove me for next time. Log in. And now this might just take a wee while, this to for the initial link up here. But I see I've got some notifications up here. That's from a previous session there. But we can come into the library here. Come to tag library. And we'll try refresh these Gallagher files. And there they are. So these here have all come in from the cloud. So there's been a way session and a scanning here. So anything with this logo, the Gallagher logo, that's just come in without any Wi-Fi or Bluetooth connection whatsoever. So from here, you can do as you wish. You can do a mating, a health treatment, or add a weighing event to it if that data is not already in that session file, if that wasn't picked up at the time of recording. It's also available through the diary as well. So we can just go backwards in time here. Let's go to the previous month and the month before that. There we go. So this information here came in without pushing a single button. And now you can add more information if you wish. You can add a photo or any free text, or you can add any other kind of recording as you go. So there's not actually a lot to show because you don't have to do anything. It's just happened for you. It's the most simple demonstration I've ever done on a webinar. All the information just comes on in here. So again, coming through the stock list, all of this information will be recorded against the animal history. So you can click on any mob in here, go to the history, and all of this information that comes in through the cloud will be available through here as well. All of these weights here. So you haven't had to do anything. You haven't had to do the Wi-Fi connection or the Bluetooth or anything like that. Now, we talked briefly about the AI involved in this here. So if you recorded an animal health treatment on your Gallagher device, that information comes through the FarmIQ. FarmIQ will pick that up. It uses AI to record the health treatment with the product and the quantity used. And it will also deduct from your product inventory in here. So you're not just picking up performance data, you're also taking off your compliance as well. So when it comes time for your audits, it's all taken care of. So it'll keep all of this up to date for you, as well as your weighing, your scanning, whatever it is. Another piece of AI, a thing that the AI does is that if you've had a duplication, let's say for Carey and his team, let's say they were doing a health treatment, someone put it through the Gallagher wand, but someone also manually recorded it on the FarmIQ app. So the information's been recorded twice. FarmIQ will pick up that health treatment from the cloud, from the Gallagher cloud, and then it'll go, oh, hang on, it's been recorded. So it will get rid of the duplication for you to make sure you're not doubling up. So we're just dipping our toes into the AI space. It's working well. It's early days. Carey's one of the first guinea pig farmers to give it a go. But so far, so good. So that's all there is to show on the demo side, guys. I'm sure there's plenty of questions. So if you have any questions about what we've covered thus far, please put it on the chat and we'll get back to your questions at the end of this webinar.
I'll just add a little bit there, Russ. I suppose the industry's been demanding for some time around integrations like this, and we're detailing that flow of how simplistic it is potentially might make some farmers a little bit scared in the fact that it is so easy. But I think just trust the process, and once you've connected and the integration happens 2 or 3 times, you'll have trust in it. But the main aim is to make it as simple as possible and alleviate all those pains that the industry has been dealing with for so long. Yeah.
No, good point, Mark. It's trusting the integration, and it's also some farmers are also conscious of their data security as well. But just be rest assured that Gallagher and FarmIQ, we respect your data privacy. And just because we're integrating at the cloud, it's nothing to be afraid of. Your data's safe. Okay, so moving on here. We're going to talk to a real full-time farmer here, unlike Mark and myself. So, Carey, thank you very much for coming along, mate. As I said, when this Gallagher cloud integration was coming through, we were trying to, Mark and I were trying to think of good farmers to test it on. And one of the first names we came across was Carey at Caberfeidh Station. So yeah, Carey, thank you very much for being a guinea pig for this integration, and also agreeing to come along to the webinar and just giving a farmer's perspective at the coalface. So thank you very much, mate. So why don't you just start off and tell us a little bit about how you got into farming and a little bit about Caberfeidh Station, where you're currently working.
Yeah, sweet. So as I sort of said before, I grew up in town, did the cadetship at Coleridge, sort of worked my way up the ranks there, and now down at Caberfeidh here as the stock manager. So Caberfeidh Station's one of the 6 properties within the Lone Star Farms sort of group. We've got 2 down in Middlemarch, us, we're in Courier, sort of North Otago, South Canterbury, and then another one in Mid Canterbury, and then 2 in Golden Bay, sort of Nelson area. Caberfeidh itself, we're just on 6,000 hectares, and we winter about 32,000 stock units. Breeding and finishing farm, depending on the season. We can get quite dry, as we found out last year, but in a typical season would finish sort of 30,000 lambs and about 1,000 cattle. There's, obviously mixture of sheep and beef, 600 breeding cows, all Angus. And then on the sheep side, we're all headwater ewes, which is, we're putting lambs into the Lumina Lamb program. And for those that probably haven't heard of Lumina Lamb, or headwaters as such, it's just it's obviously the genetics, and then the feed produces this high quality product that's high in omega-3 and intramuscular fats. So there's a whole lot of requirements and specs we've got to meet with that, and there's a lot of reporting and sort of traceability along the way with that too. So, and we've got 14 staff. We sort of vary with a few casuals, but there's a few of us running around.
Beautiful. So being headwaters, you'll have some chicory on farm too, I imagine.
Yeah, so part of the requirement for the Lumina lamb is they have to be finished on chicory for a minimum of 35 days. They've done all the tests, and that's to get the product we want. That has to have a minimum of 35 days, and that's all got to be traceable all through the EID tag.
Yeah. So you got some unique challenges with the farm system you have, both in terms of scale and just the amount of information that you have to gather. So tell us how FarmIQ fits into that.
Yeah, so obviously being a stock manager, it's obviously a lot. I focus a lot on the stock management side on FarmIQ. So I just had a look before. We've got 75 mobs as of today running around Caberfeidh at the moment, and with sort of 14 staff, making sure everyone's on the same page, knowing what mobs coming in for the truck and all that sort of stuff. So that's crucial for us. Just keeping everyone on the same page. Obviously, animal health treatments, keeping records of that. There's a lot going on. We do a lot in the feed budgeting, rotation side of it too, working all that out. And we also do like a lot of because we do buy in a lot of animals, work out a lot of use the gross margin calculator to work out if we're paying too much or not enough, or however it works. And then obviously on the land management side, it's all integrated with TrackMap and Taboola, and all that side of it is all recorded on FarmIQ.
Right.
We've got 450 paddocks here at Caberfeidh, so the map's very, very handy, especially with the GPS, especially if you've got new people or casuals coming to help. They're all numbered, so yeah, it's you certainly use the map a lot. And we also, from a business point of view, I mean, the stock rec, like any farm's got a stock rec, but it's certainly the stock rec's used all the time to make sure we're accurate, and all the sales and all that sort of stuff is put in there, and it all flows through into FarmX for us. So yeah, that's really why we use FarmIQ. There's many other things, and compliance, obviously, FAP plus. We supply the NZ Merino company as well, so the ZQRX, I think it's called, that program as well. So it makes it easy come audit time.
Fantastic. Well, I won't say it publicly here, but Carey, you'll have something very exciting coming your way regarding FAP plus in the near future with FarmIQ. So you might have to be a guinea pig again in the near future.
That would be
lovely. Thank you. And then you're also using Gallagher equipment as well, obviously. So just why do you weigh your animals, and why Gallagher in particular?
Yes. So from, I suppose, probably a macro level, like you sort of said earlier, while we're weighing our animals, we're seeing what we've done. We're seeing, our performance in the past. We know where we're at now, and then we can also forecast where we're heading, which with our scale forecasting is very important to us. Like when we've got, killing 30,000 lambs in a season, we need to be giving the meat company a heads up, when we've got peak weeks, as we're sort of hitting at the moment. So yeah, it's used for that an awful lot. Then obviously, as I alluded to with the Lumina lamb stuff, we've got certain specifications on weights and all that sort of stuff that we have to meet. So if we're just guessing, we're certainly not going to hit those specs. So it's giving us accuracy there, as well as with it being traceable through the tag, we can guarantee that every lamb that we send as a Lumina has done a minimum of 35 days, because it's all traceable. So it's part of the program requirements, and it's also increasing our spec rates that we're hitting. So it's increasing our performance at the end of the day. Also animal health, you see poor performers and that sort of stuff, and you can then work out if they do a drench or you got a high worm burden or something like that. And then I suppose from the Gallagher side, what we've found really useful is, so we've got 4 sort of head units here. We always sort of struggled to have the data on the right head unit with cords and all of that sort of stuff when we needed it, and there was always a lot of mucking around in the yard. So I suppose with their cloud-based system, I can do a lot from the office, make sure the right files are on there and all that sort of stuff, and then it just syncs. There's no waiting background stuff. So that's crucial to us to make sure our data's accurate and where we need it when we need it.
Mm.
And then I suppose we're dipping our toes into a bit now, probably from the breeding side, is body condition scoring all our ewes. We do that regardless anyway, but recording it. And then also our pregnancy scanning data is now put on there as well through the scanning crates. And now we're almost at a stage where we're going to start culling based on previous history of animals as well.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Dipping into that, sort of we've done a bit of trial work around that, and yeah, we're looking at rolling it out commercially across our farm.
Cool. So you're pumping out 30,000 lambs a season. What does weighing look like at Caberfeidh? I imagine you're getting a few numbers through, are you?
Yeah. Speaking of that, we're having a rather big week at the moment. We're sort of at one of our peak weeks. So we're sort of weighing about the last 3 days, weighed about 6,000 lambs a day. So we've got 2 yards going, and they've both got 2 sets of scales in each yard, and we can weigh, depending on how they run, between 1,100 and 1,400 lambs per yard per hour.
So
the last 3 days we've been finished weighing by lunch, 6,000 lambs. It seems like a lot, which it is a lot, but when you've got the right facilities and the right technology, it certainly makes the job easy. Staff are happy. Yeah.
So have you got yards at different places on the farm? I've only been to your main yard down on the fleet.
Yeah, we've got 2 sets of weighing yard at each end of the farm and 4 sets of yards total.
Great. And my last question for you, Carey, is with this new integration, how do you see it benefiting you in your role at Caberfeidh?
I mean, just working in the background's a huge thing for us. Like, we don't want to have, proper people employed as data people just to make sure the data's flowing through correctly. Like, the fact that it's automatically doing it, and then after, say, a week's weaning, the last thing I want to be doing is at night, buddy, going and making sure files are coming through and all that sort of stuff. So saving a lot of time and probably pressure from that sense. And then it's probably more having all our data in a central spot where we can, it's at our fingertips really, to be able to grab. And I think that's huge, having the data where you need it when you need it. And I mean, an example of that is probably last season was a shocking season for us in terms of the dry. I mean, the last lot of rain we had was the end of November. We didn't get any rain until April, and we ran out of irrigation water at sort of the end of January. So we had some big calls to make. We only finished 9,000 lambs, but big calls to make on when we, ditch things and buy and feed and that sort of stuff. So the thing that probably got us through well was we had the data, like, body condition scores, we had the weights, we had them all there so we could make a clear decision quickly before. Certainly a goal of Lone Star is to make a early decision and sort of stick with it, because obviously markets crash and all that sort of stuff. So it was hugely important to us to have data at our fingertips, and I think this sort of integration certainly helps it be readily available.
And that, that definitely applies when you're dealing with the numbers that you guys are, but equally for a small to medium-sized mum and dad family operation as well. Like, you're better off, my granddad always said that you're better off making a decision that's mostly correct 2 weeks earlier than making the absolute 100% correct decision 2 weeks later.
Yeah.
And so it sounds like you guys are just using their data to try to be a fortnight ahead of everybody else.
Yeah.
You have to at your scale.
Yeah. And I mean, like you said earlier, this data is just backing up your decision making, but you're still going with your gut at the end of the day. I think another point is, Russell, with any of this sort of technology coming out for us, like, we need all this technology to be usable at commercial scale, like at the scale we've got. And we've done a lot of trials in the past where you're mucking around with 50 lambs or something like that, and it does become very time consuming. But when you've got something like this that works at scale for us and provides minimal work and saves a lot of time, very useful.
Oh, awesome, Carey. Hey, thank you very much for being the farmer's voice for this webinar. If people have any questions, they can be for either myself or Mark or Carey as well. I see a few coming on through there. So to ask a question, just go up to the Q&A up at near the top right and type away. But we'll press on here. We're near the end. So we're going to have some offers come out to you. So we've got your email address, and once this is completed, this webinar, you'll receive a recording of the webinar, and there'll be a couple of offers from both FarmIQ and Gallagher. Now moving on to the Q&A here. So we've got a few questions here. I've got them in front of me, so I'll just go through and we'll answer them as best we can. So first one I see here is from Colin. G'day, Colin. What happens if the Gallagher file records a tag that doesn't exist in FarmIQ? Yeah, good question. It's kind of like the same way it did when it was manual. You can upload a file with fresh EID tags. It just means it won't go through to a mob. It'll be recorded in FarmIQ, whatever that was, and then you can assign that to a new mob or assign it to an existing mob. So the data won't be lost, Colin. Next up, we've got a question for you, Carey. Hi, Carey. Who puts data through to FarmIQ? I assume all staff, and if so, how do you keep staff disciplined to get data into FarmIQ? And what is the time frame standard that data is to be uploaded?
I'm presuming that's more from just the FarmIQ side of things rather than the Gallagher integration.
I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so my job is essentially to make sure FarmIQ is correct all the time. So I'm checking it daily and doing that sort of stuff. But in terms of so all staff, they're expected to move mobs as they, as they move them literally in the paddock at the time. They record if there's any deaths or any health treatments and that sort of stuff. Because we're using it all the time, and people, we're using FarmIQ for everything. So when someone goes out to go and grab a mob and it's not in the paddock, they get annoyed, and then sort of the whole culture's, I don't know how to explain it. We've got the culture right somehow, and everyone, regardless, because they know the importance of it.
Awesome.
And then in terms of the drafting and that sort of stuff, I generally do that. But then, and then the Gallagher integration stuff, I set it up in the background, but then it's all automatic after that.
Cool. Greg, I've heard of a couple of different approaches. I've heard of people putting it into their contract, saying that you have to use FarmIQ, and they sign their contract. Other people, for timesheets, for example, if you don't put your hours into your timesheet, you don't on FarmIQ, you don't get paid. And then I've also just heard of farmers giving a 24-pack or something like that to whatever staff member uses it the best. There's multiple ways to do it. But getting buy-in from the staff, I think that's really good. So that the staff can go in and see which mobs are performing best, which paddocks has had the highest pasture growth. Getting some buy-in from the staff with whatever technology you're implementing is crucial. Give your staff a reason to use it. Now I've got a question here from Andrew. With the use of AI, adding in environmental variations, will it give out predictions of potential performance? Oh, that's a great question, Andrew. Not at the moment, but we're dipping our toes in. So it's on our radar on the FarmIQ side and on the FarmX side. Like in the future, we see taking taking the weather forecast, temperature and rainfall, looking at your current pasture growth, and thinking what's that going to look like in a fortnight. And we know what your weights are today. We know how they've performed in the past. How are they going to interact going forward? So Andrew, it's a great question, mate, and it's on our radar using AI for those sort of things. Got a couple of other questions here. Someone has asked who owns the data. We've just got that's the farmer. The farmer owns the data. I'm just trying to see if we've got any other questions coming on through here. You see anything on your end, Mark?
There was just one around what sort of drafters do Caberfeidh run. I just put a note in the answers there around they run Prattley drafters with our TWR5s on them, and there's 2 per yard. So that throughput that Carey was talking about earlier on is for 2 drafters per hour. Yeah.
Awesome. And they're all 5-way drafters, and we've got facilities that can draft 5 ways on, but with 2 sets going.
Fantastic. Cool. Alrighty, if there's any last minute questions, put them through now, guys, because we're going to wrap this up quite shortly. We will go to the poll. So the question was, how would you describe your approach to animal weighing? It was either A, scientific precision, B, a mix of tools and intuition, C, I weigh them only when it's essential, and D, I prefer to use my eyes and my experience. It's actually a really close spread. Only one person answered D, I prefer to use my eyes and my experience. And the rest between A, B, and C was pretty much third. 31% for scientific precision, 35% a mix of tools and intuition, and a third, I weigh them only when it's essential, which is pretty interesting. So thank you to everybody that partook in that poll. I'll just go back to the chat really quickly and see if there's any more questions. And I don't have any more in front of me here, folks. So that brings us into the end of our time slot. Thank you very much for joining us on this webinar. Mark and Carey, thank you very much for your participation. We're all very excited about this integration, and we're looking forward to where it takes us in the future. So thank you very much for your time on your lunch break, and we'll be in touch. Keep a look in your emails, and you'll see some offers come on through from FarmIQ and Gallagher. Thank you, folks.
Thanks, Russ.
Cheers.